Okay, we have the latest software update from Rivian, and this one has not gone so smoothly for them. Last week, they launched 2023.42.0. It popped up on my phone as available, and when I went to install it, it wasn't available anymore. So what happened was a bunch of people had started to install it, and it killed their infotainment system. So the screen in the center of the car was completely blank, with just the Rivian logo on it, like you see when you're rebooting the system. And the driver display in front of the steering wheel just showed the basic controls, so your gear selectors and your range and things like that, but nothing else. So the basic functions of the vehicle were still there. You could drive it, you could charge it, and basically everything else you couldn't control. So I hadn't installed it, but some other people had, and they had to do a hot fix for that. So it was a couple days later that Rivian sent a hot fix out to all the people who had installed 2023.42.0, and they called that fix 2023.42.2. And then after they had all the people who had a problem sorted out, then they sent out an update to everybody else who hadn't installed the original one, called 2023.42.1. So right now, some people are running .1 and some people are running .2, depending on whether you had installed the bad one beforehand or not. So this is not a huge update. We'll look at that now in a minute, but it is interesting to see what happened. So they sent out the wrong update, basically, and the vehicle's certificate didn't allow it to install, and it stalled at like 90%, and people couldn't complete the installation. What should happen is it shouldn't actually allow it to begin the installation in the first place. So that's something that hopefully Rivian will fix for the future, and we won't see this problem again. What is nice to see, though, is that all the drive functions of the vehicle are separate from the infotainment. So while you wouldn't be able to, change your music or actually even control your HVAC system without opening the app, because all the functions in that touchscreen display in the center of the vehicle were unavailable, you could still drive the car and you could still charge the car. And so it was usable, just basic functions. So at least that is separate, and if something like this happens, you're not stuck and you'll still be able to drive. So let's look at what is here in this update. I have 2023.42.1 because I did not install that bad update, the .0 one. They've made some improvements to proximity locking and unlocking. So it had been a little slow recently, since 2 updates ago, I think, that when you approach the vehicle, there was usually, a slight delay, maybe a fraction of a second, before the door would even open. So they seem to have fixed that. It seems to be better today. I've only had 1 day with this update, but it seems to work better than it did before. There's also some changes to the settings for the proximity locking. So if you go into the vehicle settings, you can now choose to have the vehicle lock and unlock when at home, or lock only. This is the new part here. The lock only. Lock but don't unlock when at home. With this setting, you must actively unlock the vehicle with a key. So if your vehicle is opening and closing a lot while you're at home because you're too close to it with your phone or your key fob, it will lock when you walk away, but then it won't unlock unless you actually manually hit unlock on the key fob or in your phone app. So that could be useful for some people. I'm probably going to leave it the way it is. I've a detached garage and don't often get that close to the car if I'm not going to it. But that could be a really good function for a lot of people. Vehicle access improvements here too. Reduce the number of false present key to drive notifications. Service notification when it detects an access sensor issue. These are all minor issues that they've fixed. Improvements to the mobile app. While in car wash mode, the vehicle image in the app updates to reflect car wash mode, and the lock and unlock controls remain available even when the vehicle isn't in park. Okay, let's go to the vehicle controls and put it in car wash mode, and we'll see what that looks like in the app. Here's the app when you're in car wash mode. I absolutely love this graphic. It's just so much fun with the suds and especially the little rubber duck. The yellow duck really leans on the yellow accents on the Rivian. So this is really kind of cool. When a closure is open on the vehicle, a telltale now appears on the app. Drag down on the telltale to identify the open, closure, hood, door, window, liftgate, charge port, door, etc. So that is a handy feature, so you can see if there is something that hasn't been closed properly right from your app and not having to go back out to the vehicle. Here's what the app looks like if you've left a door or trunk or something open. There's a little icon up in the top right corner, and if you swipe down, it'll give you the details. In this instance, I've left the driver's door open, and you can see that in here. It's also going to give you some more notifications, which look great. It'll notify you if a charge session has been interrupted or unexpectedly stops. That is a really good thing to have. It would be terrible to be off charging somewhere and not buy your vehicle and not realize that it's not charging. So that's great. A charger is plugged in but isn't charging because the cable isn't properly latched. So if it never actually, if you didn't push it in all the way, it didn't click, and it didn't actually start charging, that would be good to know too. And then there's just a few other minor improvements around gauge view for the dual motor vehicles, more 12-volt sensor issues. The rest are all pretty small things. Shortened the Bluetooth connection time between the vehicle and a phone. That's always good. And down the bottom here, the Driver Plus, they've got some improvements to that. I like this one here. Highway Assist now proactively reduces vehicle speed to navigate tight curves more smoothly and safely. So that's good. That might make it feel more natural when you get to a tight curve on the highway, which I definitely have around here. And then improved speed limit detection in Highway Assist and adaptive cruise control by limiting engagement to divided highways only. So that's if you're starting adaptive cruise control, and you're going below the speed limit, and it will just automatically go to that and not the speed limit by default, unless you're on a divided highway. So that sounds like a bit of an improvement, a little tweak to that update they did 2 months ago for that. Okay, overall that was a pretty light update. Rivian did expose a pretty serious authentication issue, which I'm sure they're working on, and we won't see that mistake again. My favorite part of this update has to be the graphic in car wash mode though. I think that is so cool with the little rubber duck. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next video.